Good evening. Welcome to a special program of the International Grapevine. This is your host, Wallingford Lee. Tonight on International Grapevine, you're going to have the opportunity to listen to us talking about small business loan, the importance of it, and why it's important. In today's coronavirus, have destroyed a lot of business and have made a terrible situation in America as a whole with a lot of small business closing up. Well, there's a special program on now that they call the Paycheck Protection Program. And it gives each and every one who have a small business and going through a difficult time with payroll, who have a difficult time keeping their business open, or those who have closed up for a while because of the pandemic. This is your opportunity to bring your business back by applying for a loan with all the facilities and the availability and the opportunity to get a loan that could help you. We have as our special guest tonight the president of the Long Island African Chamber of Commerce, who's going to be on board tonight with us, talking about how to get some of these loans to help yourself. I'm talking about Mr. Phil Andrews. Phil, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Good. Well, let's start a little bit with talking. What is the purpose of the PP program? What exactly is it?
Well, the exact name of the program is the Payroll Protection Program. It came out of the presidential signing into law to protect payroll. Payroll protection is all about getting Americans back to work and staying afloat during the pandemic.
Well, obviously, that's a great opportunity. Tell us how's the SBA in it? Because you mentioned the purpose of the loan. Is the SBA tied in any way to this special program?
Yes, they are tied to the program. They are not the lender, but they are certain monies allocated from the government. When you look at the word care, the government cares that Americans get back to work and these companies don't close down. In emergency situations like this, they're able to sign law to pump money into the economy. The lenders do get paid for processing the loan, but the government is essentially backing low cost loans. And if particularly they may use some of the things for certain ways and they may not have to pay back the loan through the payroll protection program.
Well, this is good news. It goes without saying because of the coronavirus, there's a lot of small business out of business. Small business happen to be the background of America, no matter how here all the large corporations and Wall Street and all stuff like that. But there's a thousand and thousand of small business, restaurant, machine shops, and you name it, they have it. And that's the background of America. That's exactly what America is all about. And I would like to think that this special program, the emphasis is to get back this small business back on board so the economy can get going. Also, to bring these people who might have closed down their business, the restaurants, bars, and stuff like that. Without these small business, we could be in danger. All the big cities, the New York City of the world, the Chicago's of the world, the California of the world, and certain places in the Midwest. So I can't emphasize how important this program is and it can help you. Now, Phil, as we begin talking, tell us what picture does the Long Island Chamber of Commerce, Long Island African Chamber of Commerce play here? What is the purpose of the joining of the chamber getting involved in this? Do you put together a certain amount of programs and help these minorities? Walk us through a little bit so that those who watching the program can get a flavor and an education just exactly how the Long Island African American Museum come into this picture.
Well, one of the things is being the Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce, we have a lot of influence on the community, and we could advocate on the behalf of the community. And you know, a Chamber of Commerce is known as one of the most well-known organizations in the country, knowing government agencies, how entities work, allows the business owner to say, you know what, I don't understand this PPP loan, but let me contact the chamber. In the chamber, this is the second round. The last round we was doing payroll protection program and emergency disaster loans virtual workshops on like a weekly basis. Just imagine you're a small business owner, you don't have a human relations department, you don't have an accountant department, and then the government is coming saying they got this program that's more comprehensive than you could probably handle on your own. So we are bringing the information. If they have a question, what type of documents I need, did I didn't file my return yet? What can I put up as proof that I got this business? So the chamber acts as an advocate of bringing the resources, and it's a well-known fact that when you have somebody advocating for you for resources, the resources come to you. And particularly in the last time, a law firm even contacted us in the first round of PPP and said there are certain laws that may help a business be able to stay in their rental place even when they couldn't pay their rent during the disaster period. So we had a workshop on that. So the idea is the Chamber of Commerce is in the know, and if you want to get to our community, what better organization to get to than the New York State largest African American Chamber of Commerce in the 2019 Small Business Champion for the biggest business market in the county. SBA loans in the New York region gave out more loans than any SBA office in the country.
Well, that's good to hear. It's important to know before we go forward so you get a flavor of just exactly who this young man is. Phil has been running the Long Island African uh, Chamber of Commerce for a while and has really put it on the map and turned it around. Today, they have over 350 members from all walk of life, and he has brought into a lot of great marketing idea, a lot of brand new steps that has really taken the Chamber of Commerce all the way up as a black entity who has made a huge difference, not only in Long Island, but also in Brooklyn, New York, Queens, and certain part of the Bronx. So that's good to know that he's not just locked in one area. So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned certain things about the PP program before. Our understanding is that it started flowing last year and it closed down August of last year. And we understand also that a new program has been put together starting January 11, going forward, I don't know. But let's talk a little bit. You mentioned that you also was active in it last year. What picture the chamber played when you guys were active? Were you doing presentations? Were you reaching out to business and helping them fill out applications and stuff like that?
Yes, we was having a virtual. We had the SBA. We had some private companies. Some private companies were paid by the SBA to work with the business community, so they didn't have to charge the business owner to process the loan. Because a lot of times you may go to somebody and they say, "Well, give me $2,000 and I'll help you process this PPP loan." But in this climate, a lot of businesses did not have the capital, so we was able to get the questions that they asked through the small business development centers. Now, I don't know if you know, but throughout the country, there is what they call small business development centers that help counsel businesses that's located in colleges and universities across the country, and they are of the SBA. And in New York, we also have funding by Empire State Development for entrepreneurial development centers. So the primary reason why the government and business are somewhat connected, when you become successful, you're probably going to pay some taxes. It's in America's interest for businesses to thrive and to put people back to work. And the primary reason for the PPP loan is that people have to work. Companies cannot survive without their employee. Imagine you had 10 employees and now you can't pay them, and then the owner is left out there by himself. So the companies, in order to work, they got to have people doing specific jobs to keep those companies going. And so a large portion, in exact amount, 60% of the PP loan must be used for payroll, and 40% could be used for other expenses, necessary expenses to the business.
So when we talk about 60%, you're talking about companies who cannot meet their payroll and they might have 10 employees, 15, 30 employees, or maybe even less than that, but they cannot meet the payroll. And of course, the government don't want these companies to go out of business. That's how come the idea of the PP loan came aboard. But you also mentioned that 60% and the other 40% is for what? Um,
It could
Working
be used for
capital,
like,
other expenses?
yeah, it could be used. The best way to describe it is necessary expenses for a business, things like utilities, health care, even vacation. You know, there's a certain cost you got to pay the light, you got to pay the gas, you got to have certain equipment costs. Really, it's the things around a business being necessary. Now, you can't pay down on your interest on your mortgage because that's not a necessary expense. You're trying to get your pet property paid off quicker. So it's certain expenses that are regulated, and if you don't spend those expenses on those specific, you spend it outside of that, you could be penalized. So because it's to keep the basic part of it, keep the people paid that's working and keep the company operating. So that's why you got certain operating costs that's restricted during the PPP.
So it goes without saying, if we interpret everything well, last year there was a lot of brokers in the picture charging a fee to these small business to get the loan, and I think that kind of changed a little bit. Now I'd like to think that the African American Chambers has come in like a conveyor belt to making things possible. In other words, taking this desire company, this company in need of finance, this company in need of paying their payroll to the proper lender to get the necessary help and the funds that they're needing. So you are acting now as a conveyor belt to get things done. Am I correct with that?
Oh, you absolutely correct. A couple of people had questions today, and I was able to say February 11th on the Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce, we have the Small Business Administration going to be going over any questions that they have, and we are constantly going to be doing these workshops up until almost the last day that this loan process closes, because it's critical that the businesses operate, and particularly in this economy. If these businesses close, where are going to be the jobs? We're going to lose more jobs than we have lost at this point, and we've already lost a substantial amount of jobs. So it's really about getting the economy up and going and to float through this process. That's why they call it a float. Just not paying your payroll forever, but during the pandemic, as they continue to assess it, we don't know if it'll be around three for PPP, but it may be. So it's really a great thing to keep America working, being able to feed their families and pay their bills.
Well, it goes without saying, obviously, with the things that you're talking about, all the things that happened in 2020, some of them that was not very favorable to small business or to the nation. Now we have a new government. But the most important thing is now there is a big challenge for you as the president of the Chamber of Commerce to take this and bring in that type of business and save those type of business who are in need of cash and how the cash is going to be needed and how they're going to pay it back. So are you prepared for that type of challenge to bring the needy on board to get the necessary loans that they need?
Yes, we are prepared, and I'm gonna go back to a leadership concept of uneasy is the head that wears the crown. Leadership is an awesome responsibility, and you have to be prepared to lead. And we are out there on the ground, listening to the agencies. We out there. The fact that we had a member the other day, I just called him, and he didn't know it was PPP was even open, and he had just brought his business for a substantial amount of money. He did have employees, and I was able to get him in the process. So the Chamber of Commerce, the fact that I'm involved, the people in our community is going to look at me and say, you know what, this is viable. Because sometimes our community may not trust other people. So if they have a relationship with an organization that they know, like, and trust, they will. The number of respondees will go up processing these applications.
I would like to think that the word is out to your members that the African American Chamber is involved and you putting together this marketing program. Now, your outreach, is it just Long Island or all five boroughs, or you go anywhere?
Well, in this particular instance, we are currently working with a bank called Customers Bank, and they are one of the top five lenders in the country. So
Hmm.
we're looking. We've already seen some national people businesses apply through PPP through us. We're not discriminated against anybody that comes through our link to get PPP, because this is a criteria. This is a pandemic. Actually, it's bigger than the U.S. This problem with what's going on with COVID-19 and the pack of businesses all over the country, and we're excited at the opportunity to spread the word around the United States, because they can service anyone in the United States on this loan process with this relationship that we have formed with the bank.
That's good news to know. So, in other words, you guys are banking on a particular bank that crave for the opportunity to help minorities and to get business going and to help build back the economy by making proper loans to minorities who need it. As you may know, many years ago, the banks wasn't exactly feasible to helping Latinos, blacks, Native Americans, and stuff like that. So things have changed a lot, and that's a good sign to have an institution and board that you can count on. So you have that comfort level where you can work with them, bring the necessary type of people that need loan to get the small business back rolling and back on their feet. Again, don't you agree?
Yes, and the program they have at that bank is in particularly a one of the most phenomenal programs in the country. They have what they call fintech. It's a white label program that's able to seamlessly process these applications at a rate and speed and easiness that most banks do not have. But technology is very important. Sometimes the website is not uploaded and it goes down a lot, and it's just kind of hard to navigate. So they're a leader in lending, but they're also a leader in technology, and they're also looking to impact the multicultural market, where is the market that we're operating in. So it was a perfect match, and we knew the bank had a good reputation.
Well, that's good to know. Let's talk a little bit about turnaround time. I would imagine that there's an application that has to be filled out because nobody will lend you money unless they know what you need it for and when they're going to get paid back. What is the process as a person who's looking for, let's say, a $5,000 loan or $7,000, whatever amount that it is? What is the process to fill out the application? And more importantly, specifically to educate our customer base, what is the turnaround time? And if the application is missing information, do you get involved or does the customer get involved with the lender? What's the process? What is the turnaround time? We want to know, more importantly, and whether this institution is accessible to move fast enough for the need of the community.
Well, that's a very hard question. But you being a former banker yourself, it's like going to somebody that need a mortgage and they got everything in one drawer. They're able to take it out. So a lot of this is come to the core of how you run your business. If you run your bit, you should run your business every day where you know where your documents in. You should have your cash flow. You should have your receipts. You should have your bank statements. You should file. There's some people don't file their tax returns for a couple of years. So I think that's a hard question. But one of the things that we try to tell in the chamber every day, operate your business above water, because you never know when these situations are going to come up, and then you can't take advantage of the opportunity because you don't have your paperwork in order. So that's why we are very into technical assistance. We into business workshops, because the habits of a business, they really going to come out in a situation like this where you got to apply and deal with the government.
Well, no question about it. You brought up quite a few important points, but one of the key components with this lender, we hope that they are a PP lender. What is a PP lender? A PP lender is a lender who have the confidence and has the ability and the strength and the backing of the SBA, where they alone can make a loan and send it to the SBA and don't have to worry for approval. That would expedite the loan. That's one of the reasons why I was asking turnaround time and stuff like that. Because you have to take the application and send it to the SBA, and the SBA say, yeah, no, maybe. If they're a PP lender, and most guys that work with the SBA are PP lender, which mean their flavor and their expertise in turnaround time is usually excellent, especially with a program like this. Because if my memory serves me right, most institutions last year in the New York tri-state area, most of them was PP lender, and they were able to turn around those loans in 2020 to help a lot of business. And the expectation going forward now that it's opened up now in January is to accomplish the same type of thing, especially as you just mentioned, how large a base that you have in Long Island, Queens, and Brooklyn, and a big multicultural center. So the expectation is that I think they should and could and will be able to give that type of turnaround time. And if they don't, you need to find out, because as a conveyor belt and slight marketing person, bringing in some of these loans and bringing some of the customer base is important that you know that. So I respectfully suggest that you find that out from them going
Well,
forward.
the government is not in the bank of lending money. Just like the VA loan, they back the loan, but they don't lend the money. So the idea is that the banks, they know the process. The government is guaranteeing, that it's going to be forgived if they do everything according to the guidelines. They only could get 2.5 times the salary for the last year. So they got certain rules around how much they have to calculate. Well, how much did you pay in wages? And what's lacking to make up what you need to be at 100%, because the businesses, they know that the businesses cannot operate without employees. Especially, like, imagine if this is up to you have, I believe, a certain number, 500 employees over a certain size, then it's too big that it can't rely on the government for help. And that's what happened the last time. In the first round, it was some companies that were so big, and it was an outroar to that they got PPP loan, and they was put under public scrutiny and pressure, and they had to pay the money back,
So in other words,
give the money back.
yeah, it's more labor like for a smaller business, not for a large corporation or stuff like that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, small could be somebody that got a $10 million operation that need to put people back to work. I mean, the concept of small in America doesn't mean that you're making $700 a week, because small goes to a very sizable size in business in America. But it can't be a public company. I mean, they don't need the money. They're so big. But it is regulated around certain size and certain numbers of employees, because it's really for the people that really need it, and that's considered small.
How successful was the PP program last year in 2020? How successful was it?
Well, there were some hiccups. Like anything that's new, it came out fast. The companies that was more equipped and had the staff, and a lot of the minority companies were not able to, move quickly. Maybe they didn't have a banker in their Rolodex, and they didn't have, a whole department of accounting team. So this time around, the SBA opened up the loan first for minorities and small banks to help the minority community, community investment banks, minority development institutions, and small minority businesses. It was locked down for 3 days, I believe, and then it opened up to the public, giving them the smaller businesses an opportunity this round to get a first shot at it. And I also believe they have a certain amount that's set aside for smaller size minority businesses to kind of like level the playing field.
Very interesting. As we continue here on the International Grapevine, talking to the president of the Long Island African uh, Chamber of Commerce, we're going to continue talking about small business and the PP program going forward. We'll be right back on International Grapevine as we continue forward and forward and talking about small business and the need and importance of the small business. We'll be right back on International Grapevine. And we're back here on the International Grapevine talking to Mr. Phil Andrews, who happened to be the president of the Long Island African Chamber of Commerce, who has been kind enough to be on our program, talking a little bit about small business, talking about the this special program available by the name of the Paycheck Protection Program that can help a lot of small business. So in this second half of the program, we want to talk about probably the amount of small business in Long Island that he might have known. And we want to talk a little bit of some of the examples of businesses out there. So those who are listening, or maybe a couple of lenders listening, or customers listening, who might be in the bar business, the restaurant business, the manufacturing business, and might need funds to get their company going, who might need funds to meet payroll, who might need funds to stay in business. This is the opportunity. And by talking to Mr. Andrew, you'll have the opportunity to probably reach out to him. You will see his address and telephone number of the Chamber of Commerce, and you might have the opportunity to get your business rolling back. I can't emphasize how important it is for small business to continue back in business. We know for a period of time our governor had closed down things in New York, and rightfully so, because it was so dangerous with the coronavirus. We know for a fact certain part of Florida was closed down for a while, and the governor of Florida opened it up a little bit too early, and Florida got really whacked very hard. So, like anything else, we want to stay in business, we want to do business, but we also have to be careful. We have to be safe. And it's important that we listen to our leaders then, because of this crazy coronavirus, and we don't know how deep these things are going. But business is very important, and America is the greatest country in the world. And as part of being the greatest country in the world, we want to keep our business going, and we get back stronger now than ever. Well, Mr. Andrews, as we were talking a little bit, let's talk a little bit. When we talk about small business, you don't have to give me an exact number. Is there a lot of large number in the Long Island area and maybe Brooklyn of small business that you think that you may be able to capture some of them?
Oh yes, and one of the reasons why I think it's so many more small businesses. Somebody made a we was having a conversation earlier today. They would say, well, you would see one large company and you would see 50 small businesses. America is run by small businesses, those mom and pop businesses in the community. You don't see a large corporation in these local communities across America on every block. So in fact, the small business community is a greater employer by number of people throughout the country than large corporations.
Are there any examples of maybe one or two small business that you could share with us that you would like to see? Maybe not give the number, their name, if you don't think is right, but the line of business that they're into that you think that would need a help and a push in this line of situation.
Well, there was a business that I'm very familiar with, Buttermeat Essentials. They sell hand soap, hair and body stuff. They was operating 10 years online. And just as recently as about 2019, they went into the storefront. And imagine after you've been online for 10 years and then you finally get a storefront and then COVID comes. So a lot of businesses were adversely affected by this pandemic because it was something that you couldn't plan for. And particularly right now, just think about 9/11, New York, how it took years, like almost a decade, for people to go back to normal. And they even had something that came up called state vacation, but people wouldn't was scared to get on a plane, scared to travel. And imagine this is a global pandemic, so people are staying in the house more. So imagine if you was that restaurant where people would go outside every day and go by and get that slice of pizza. So the psyche of the people right now in this condition is really limited consumer spending. I mean, online may have boosted, but we need these brick and mortars across the country, these storefronts, because you know who wants to live in a community that's full of vacant stores. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for businesses to stay afloat. And I think when things go back to normal, people are going to be out there more and support. They're going to be so happy to go outside and go to the store. I think it's going to be a boom for a lot of businesses when this pandemic is over. But we got to keep them alive right now during this pandemic time.
I couldn't agree with you more with the things that you say. One of the biggest examples was like last night when the Bucks beat Kansas City. If you look at all the bars, the restaurants, a lot of people wearing masks, some weren't. But when we talk about small business, that's the type of business I'm talking about that's hurt. If you have a restaurant, you have 10, 15 employees. If you have to close down, you still have to pay rent. You still have expenses. And the people that got laid off are out of work. So these are the type of things that hurt. So that's the restaurant. Imagine the bar where people go and take a drink or two here and there on a weekend. It's a big thing. When those business close, you're talking about minimum 10, 15 employees out of work and the owner, depends on the large size. It's a very serious matter. And we those are conscious now how dangerous this COVID has been. And if these type of loans can bring back those businesses and put them back into action, it will help the community. It will help the people that used to work there to come back to work because they have to pay their rent, they got to pay their cars, they have the children to support, school and stuff like that. So this thing is very, very serious. And I hope those of you that have a business and watching this program take the advantage if you need it and get on out there and get this type of loan with the facts of why you need it and the purpose of why you need the loan. And I can guarantee you a good lender that's part of this program will come to your rescue, especially if you present yourself properly with whatever is needed. We talk a little bit of some of the things about the application. Do you know what otherwise than that, what the lenders are asking? Are they asking for tax return, financial statement? What are some of the things that they're asking for when they apply for a loan?
They're asking for the normal things that they ask for, you know, your business operation, tax returns, who you paying, expenses that dropped, because they have to. They're not just giving out free money; they're giving out money that's tied to operational costs of the business. And I wanted to make a point, a very important thing. I really want to highlight what you just said there. This thing is so devastating. I don't know if you know, I was a former storefront owner. I had quite a few stores in my 20s. So imagine, you know, here I am, the Haircut Hut franchise was across the street from McDonald's, and we used to advertise, and McDonald's used to tell me, man, you know, when you all that advertising you doing, you helping me across the street. So now you got tons of businesses in a 5 block radius that's closed. How much traffic you gonna get, right? So these businesses depend on each other for foot traffic. The more that a community in it, that's like a downtown that's viable, right? It couldn't have one pizza shop, right? So if you got a whole bunch of businesses being impacted at the same time, that's going to impact the revenue in that whole region. And I mean, yeah, sure, there may be one business that maybe is selling during this time, but it's across the board that consumer foot traffic is down at one of the highest levels it's been in some time. In the
I agree.
unemployment, and combined with,
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You know, when you talk about the business, I'm sure you was talking about your Brooklyn days. So, you know, as a Brooklyn kid, I know what you're talking about. But the flow of the barbershop, also the people across the street with McDonald's or Burger King was getting the business too for those clients and that came to your store and stuff like that. So the flow is important. Once business is rolling, whatever they come to buy or enjoy themselves, they go to the other business, stuff like that. Very, very important. When we talk about loans, what type of funds are available? Any specific amount of funds that, you know, some lenders have available to lend out? Or not?
Well, there is a certain it's every business is different. This time around, you're seeing the business that's applying for 15,000, 20. You know, there's the business that qualifies for $2 million in payroll protection program, but evidently that particular company pays out a substantial amount of employees. And there's also the sole proprietorship. You know, they on the Schedule C that they lost revenue. What about that business that operates as a sole proprietorship, but they lost money? So there's a replacement for costs for small businesses and sole proprietorships. Every business is a different entity. So a variety of entities, from corporations to nonprofits, 501c6s, and three, they can apply for PPP too if they are a business entity and they have lost wages and they replacing wages under the PPP program. So that we wanted to make it. It's not just a large companies going for PPP. It's that single individual that files top operating a business because a sole proprietorship is a business.
So not only that, they're capable of looking at non-for-profit company also, and be able to assist them, I would imagine.
Yes, because nonprofit often, once again, they have payroll, and in this time that they if they wasn't fundraising or bringing in a loss of revenue, they may I mean a loss of revenue may impact their ability to keep people working just like another business entity.
Before we leave, what is your expectation as part of this program, as the conveyor belt, as the marketeer? What is your expectation from the chamber in terms of bringing
My
in this type of business?
my expectation is that we're gonna see expectations. We really working very hard to get the word out because a lot of people just don't know. You'd be surprised. A lot of people hear about it, but they say they don't think about their self as qualifying for payroll protection program. So we're getting it in the news. They're able to read it. They're able to go look at it. They may call us. Then even when they go on the site and maybe start the application halfway, something is missing. I tell them, hey, go back on that workshop again next week. We here to answer your questions. So we're really being very patient, and we want to maximize the success of our community. And one of the things that I've learned from the first round of PPP is learn how things work before the crisis. Every business should learn about how banks lend money and the processes before it's a crisis. That should be a normal part of any businesses to always be prepared for a loan, even when you don't need it. Because when you need it, sometimes you don't get it because you're not prepared.
No question about it. So I imagine that you're going to be putting on quite a few dog and pony shows here and there and everywhere, because Long Island is very big and wide open. So whatever it takes, whether they come to you or you go out there and make the proper presentation and sell the program.
And the government helps us. The Small Business Administration, that's what they're there for. They're there for technical assistance. A lot of things. Just think about it. The SBA does a couple of things. Access to capital is one that they do, right? They provided they're not the lender in this case, but they certainly backing some government using some government money, right? So they access to capital, counseling, and contracting. So these agencies, you should not wait till a pandemic to understand the SBA and why they got an agency like that, because this is not the only time in history that the SBA had programs like this. During Sandy, you could also get money. I remember I was the president of 100 Black Men of Long Island, and we was able to our building roof messed up, and we was able to get the carpet, and everything was restored back to the original price of what it was purchased at, because the SBA had emergency disaster loans to during that time for Sandy, just like they have today. And this is just show you how wonderful it is in America that we live in a country that could respond to disasters like this and crisis.
Well, on that strong note, we want to take the opportunity in behalf of the family of the International Grapevine. Mr. Andrew, thank you so much for being our special guest and for sharing the pros and cons of the program. We feel that things are in good hands with a chamber like yours. You're a go-getter, you're a motivator, and you know how to bring in business and you know how to touch the right keys. I wish you a lot of success and continued success going forward.
Thank you. And we appreciate the opportunity to get the message out there. The deadline for the PPP program is March 31st, 2021. And you can just log on to our site, www.liaacc.org, or type in Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce and contact us. And we'll be having plenty workshops and virtual workshops until this pandemic is over. And in the CARES Act, the next phase of this Act is deadline is met.
And before we leave, please leave your phone number also.
Well, you can reach the Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce at 347-475-7158, and you can email us at info@liaacc.org.
And again, thank you so much for being our special guest. And on behalf of the family of International Grapevine, we want to take this opportunity to tell our audience thank you so much. And we hope you've paid close attention. This is your opportunity for those who are looking for a loan to bring your business back. And thanks for watching our program. We hope to see you next week at the same time, at the same place. Thank you.
Thank you.
And